Here at PhoneBurner, we feel it's very important that we track the activities done to or done by your contacts, your leads. And we give you lots of options to be able to view that activity, like you can see here on the activity tracker, to be able to search for contacts based off of specific activities. And of course, report on contacts based off of activities. So you and your team might be using PhoneBurner's calendar to book appointments. Obviously, you're using PhoneBurner to make calls. You might be sending emails from PhoneBurner. Those emails might even be including trackable attachments using SmartSender, where not only can you send a trackable attachment like a link or a video or something like that, but you can also track if they watch the video, how much of the video they watch, and if they complete that video. Just like you're seeing with Rachel's sample here. But let's talk about how you can report in PhoneBurner on the activities specific to your contacts. So let's build a report specific to activity tracking. So let's click on reports up at the top. Let's click on add report. And we're going to name this New Activity Report. And because I'm lazy, I'm not going to put a description in there. I feel like my name is descriptive enough. Anyway, the report type, I'm going to leave this set as member detail because I want this broken down by all of my team members. Of course, if I wanted to, I could potentially make this a team summary, but I like to have this one broken down by team member. And now I need to set my default date range. I'm going to set mine to 30 days. In fact, I should probably set it longer than that because, well, this is a demo account and I don't have a lot of data in here, right? But you might want to choose something like today or yesterday or last week, Monday through Friday, or last month or the last 7 days or year to date or anything like that. As you can see, there are lots of options when it comes to the default date range. So I'm just going to set it to the last year. Default leaderboard theme is going to be set to light. We're not ready to talk about leaderboards on this call, so we're going to just skip past that. I am going to include a graph because I do like pretty graphs, but of course that is only going to show the call activity, not necessarily all of the activities. And when it comes to rotate leaderboard fields, I'm just going to set that to no for right now and save. All right, so we have now created the report. But now we need to define what fields are going to be in this report. So over on the left-hand side, I'm going to click on Fields. And since this is an activity report, I'm going to get rid of average talk time. I do want my agent information there because this is a member detail report, and I want to know which agent I'm looking at when I'm looking at numbers, right? Talks. Emails sent. I'm going to actually change these because these are pulled from the sum option. I'm going to delete both of these actually. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to delete calls as well. We're going to go strictly activity based on this one. So we've got the agent information and then we're going to go look at activity options. So let's go to add new field. We're going to go down to the type section and we're going to choose activity. From there, you'll see a drop-down, an activity drop-down that shows all of the different activity types that you can include in this report. So we've got appointment scheduled, appointment email sent. We've got broadcast email opened, resubscribed, unsubscribed, sent. So if you're taking advantage of the broadcast feature, you can report on that. Logging a manual call. If you're taking advantage of the campaign feature in PhoneBurner, then you've got emails sent, opened, resubscribed, unsubscribed. Dial session call, that's what we typically would refer to as a call. I already deleted that one, so this is the dial session call because a dial session call is different than other types of calls, which we'll talk about. We've got document picked up. If you're taking advantage of SmartSender and you're including like PDFs or things like that, people are going to be picking those up. How many of those are getting picked up during whatever date range we select? Do we log an email manually in the system? Do we want to track how many of those happen? Email confirm. This is kind of a unique one. Most people are probably not going to be using this, but you have the ability to include a link in an email that somebody could click on to confirm their email address, and you can report on how many times people do that. Again, not something that most people are doing here in PhoneBurner. Email received, replied. That is a manual thing that can be added to a contact. Finished a video, image pickup, link pickup. These are all related to Smart Packs. One-touch email. So in a dial session, you can send a one-touch email on disposition. You can send a one-touch email from a contact record itself. Do you want to be able to report on opens, sent, resubscribe, unsubscribe? Do we log in other activity manually on the record? Received a legacy voicemail. That's going to be irrelevant for you because we now have vPhone, which is much more robust. So we got Smart Sender Pickup. That's just, did they pick up the Smart Sender? And that's before actually accessing any specific resource. Started a video. Did they start watching a video? You know, we talked about finished a video. We might want to see how many people actually started a video. vPhone inbound, vPhone outbound, vPhone voicemail. That's really all of the inbound stuff. So if you're purchasing phone numbers through PhoneBurner and you're getting inbound calls, you're making outbound calls like click to call, things like that. And then we got voicemail. Did they leave a voicemail? And then Zoom invite. This is something that's kind of going away. We did have a time that some people would like to invite someone to a Zoom room in a dial session. Didn't have a lot of people that were taking advantage of it because most people were scheduling calls in the future. So let's add a few of these options. Now that we've talked about them all, let's actually build a report, right? So what are things that we might want to consider, right? We might want to see how many appointments were scheduled. This is outside of a disposition, right? We've already talked about it. If you watch some of the other videos, dispositioning appointment schedule. This is how many actually showed up on the calendar. How many events did we create on the calendar? And we might want to include that in our summary. Let's add another field. Let's go back to activity. And we might want to be tracking dial session call. Now, granted, this is not necessarily the best place to do this, but I want to show it to you. Oh, you know what? Let's include that in summary. Save. Let's do activity. Let's go down to vPhone. Let's do outbound call here. This should be click to call. View in summary. Save. And I'm not going to do a ton of stuff here, just enough to give us something interesting to look at in our report. One-touch emails, right? We might want to track how many of those. I'm not going to put that in the summary. And let's go here, activity. Let's do opened. Now it's important to note that when it comes to tracking opens, there's no guaranteed foolproof way of knowing for sure that somebody opened it. We have different tricks that we do to try to track whether or not somebody opens it, but a lot of email providers now actually scan for those and trigger those. And so I would say if you're looking at one-touch opens, I would look at that with a little bit of a side eye, maybe take it with a grain of salt, just because there are things that can trigger the automation into thinking it was open when the actual user didn't open it. Or it may show that it was open multiple times when they just opened it once, just because that little thing is getting triggered multiple times while they're looking at it. So just keep that in mind. And then let's do started a video, because that's always fun, right? Let's go. Actually, let's do Smart Sender Pickup. That's that. Oh, sorry. Click the button wrong. SS. Pick up. And then we'll do the video start. Video started. All right, so I think you got the idea. You can decide what fields it is that you want to include. Once we've defined the fields that we want in our report, then we need to define which team members need to be included here. Now, of course, if you're the only one on your team, then you don't need to adjust this because it's just you, right? But if you're managing a team, by default, we're going to include everybody in the report. But if you wanted to remove people from the report, you can do that. So it's just reporting on a specific group of people. You can also set up the report to include suspended seats. So if you have turnover, you may want to include those suspended seats as your in your report so that you can always see an accurate number of what's, accurate representation of what's going on within your team. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this set to view active seats and all seats and save. And then the last thing I want to talk about here is the email delivery. There's 3 options when it comes to email delivery: daily, weekly, and monthly. And the way these work is a little bit different than what you might be thinking. Daily will send an email every day, including yesterday's activity. Weekly, you're able to choose what day of the week you want to receive the email, and it'll include the previous 7 days worth of activities. So if you want to receive an email every day of the week with the previous 7 days activities, you would just add email deliveries for every day of the week on this weekly option. And then you'll get that. Monthly, if you choose monthly, similar to weekly, you choose the day of the month you want to receive the email. And then on that day, the system will send you a report with those details for the previous 30 days. And that's it. And so if you want to get one every day of the month, you choose every day. You just add this 31 times and you're good to go. And if you want additional people outside of yourself, because you will always get a copy of every report, but if you want other people to get it, you can add their email addresses here and we'll send a copy of the report to them as well. Now, I'm not going to add email delivery on this one. So we're just going to talk about it and that's it. So that's it. We've created the report. Let's go to the reports tab, click on that. We should see our new activity report over on the left-hand side. We can click on that. That's going to look at the past 365 days because that's what I set as my default date range. I can, of course, change that if I want. I can choose a custom date range or any of these predefined date ranges. I can see all my call activity in my graph. My summary shows the summarization of my entire team here for the specific fields that I set the summary for. And then I see it broken down by agent, by rep, right? So in this particular case, during this date range, the admin scheduled 11 appointments. And again, this is not a disposition. This is actually using the PhoneBurner calendar to create an appointment. Dial session calls, 799 dial session calls. So that's similar to what we've talked about on other things, right? But here's what's interesting is now I can also start to break down different types of calls. So here I see my click to call, 53 click to calls during that same date range. Email sent, one-touch email sent, 360, one-touch emails open, 225. Smart Sender packs picked up this year, 6, and videos started 4, right? So it's tracking all of those activities. All right, so that is it for this specific training. This is how you can create an activity-based report. Of course, you can add activity fields into any other report as well, but I did want to focus on the activity specifically for this training. So thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. I hope this helped you better understand how you can take advantage of the PhoneBurner system and the reporting options here. So thanks again and happy dialing.